How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the corner. I'm the DM as always. It's been a while. Happy New Year, everyone. But today I want to talk about something. And it is that one Saudi company, one, is causing the vast majority of the groundwater in Arizona to disappear. Okay. So this is on phys.org. And it starts by talking about how lush green fields of alfalfa spread across thousands of acres in the desert valley in western Arizona, where a dairy company from Saudi Arabia grows the thirsty crop by pulling up groundwater from dozens of wells. Now, if you don't know what alfalfa is, it's hay, essentially. It's extremely thirsty, requires a ton of water, and is used for all manner of livestock from cows to horses, right? This company, Fondo Monte, is the largest water user, and we'll get to the numbers later, don't worry. But you may ask, what does it do with this alfalfa, right? Surely it sells it here in the United States, right? No, they ship it overseas to feed cows in the Middle East. And it's allowed to pump unlimited amounts of water. There's no restriction whatsoever about how much water they can pump. Um, So it goes on to kind of talk about this, right? And talking about how it's the heaviest pumping they've ever seen. It's where the majority of it is. And then the data from the wells in this area of the county, right, show that in one, the water levels have dropped 242 feet, and another is 136 feet. Okay. And it says that the current rate of pumping in this area is causing the land surface to sink as much as 2 inches per year. Now, you may not think 2 inches is a lot. And if it was like maybe, an acre or two, it wouldn't necessarily be a lot. But we're not talking about just 1 acre. We're talking about the entire Renas Gross basin. Okay. So this right here, okay, is the basin in question. It covers 912 square miles of La Paz County. Okay. 912 square miles. That is an enormous amount. Okay. So when it says that it's causing the land surface to sink as much as 2 inches, that's the entire basin they're talking about. Okay. And so obviously it says that it's alarming and that the water budget for the basin is significantly out of balance. Um, the governor, Katie Hobbs, a Democrat by the way, uh, says that it needs to address this unrestricted overpumping by quote out of state corporations, which it absolutely does. And again, we'll get to the specifics as to why here in a bit. And don't worry, I've got I've got receipts as I always do. So, she says that it's being depleted nearly 10 times faster than it can be naturally replenished, especially here out in the desert. Um, and it says that the Department of Water Resources has proposed a new, more active management area to preserve it, which would prohibit the irrigation of additional farmland in the area and require landowners with high capacity wells to start measuring and reporting how much water they use. Okay. Now, obviously, this isn't going to apply to the small local farmer, right? This is intended for the large corporations like Fondamont. Okay. One resident says that it's simply a free for all and compares it to the Wild West of water. Okay. Um, Fondamont is a part of the Almarai dairy giants. Um, and it shows that the groundwater is being here's how big this company is. Okay, here's where we start to get into the nitty gritty of why this is such a fucking problem. Okay, The groundwater from these Saudi companies is being exhausted in Arabia so fast that the country has banned the domestic growing of alfalfa and other forage crops. Not just like not just like one small area or anything like that. No, no, no. The entire country has a ban on growing alfalfa and other forage crops. Do you realize what you have to do to get Saudi Arabia to put an outright ban on growing it at all? Like, it's fucking ridiculous, okay? And not only is that ridiculous, okay, the amount they have 3,600 acres in Vicksburg, okay? They are renting 3,088 acres of state farmland and 3,163 acres of state grazing land, okay, until 2031. And they're getting it for $83,000 a year. They're getting over 6,000 acres, potentially even nine if this is included in it, for less than 100K a year. Let me put this into perspective, okay? So, right over here, I have pulled up a site, okay, that helps you see land prices here in Arizona. So, this was posted about a month ago for 24 acres, $24 million is basically $1 million an acre. Okay. Over here, 3.3 million an acre. Over here, 1.5 almost for just half an acre. Um, almost 9 million for 2 acres, right? And this is like a pretty consistent thing, right? Like millions of dollars per acre. Like, and granted, this is Maricopa County. However, Maricopa County is where this all is. Okay, because this is about 100 miles uh, out of Phoenix. So it's like literally millions of dollars to buy 1 acre, and they are getting over like potentially over 9,000 acres for 83 grand a year. And the residents of this county, of La Paz County, they're not seeing a fucking cent of it. Okay. Like they are getting a it's like extortionary fees basically. They're getting it for so cheap, and then they just get to pump unlimited amounts of water from like it's fucking ridiculous. Okay. So down here is where we start to see the true colors of big corporations, right? This person um calls it a water grab, saying that the state is doing it solely so that way they can steal their water and ship it off to big cities and whatnot. And no, I'm not exaggerating here, okay? But the thing is that the proposal itself says nothing about, not only does it say nothing about transporting water out of the basin, it would literally be illegal under current law. Like it's not allowed. And then this person, of course, is suspicious of it. But he also uses as well for a stand of bamboo on his 5 acre property. Bamboo, notoriously hungry for water, but whatever. And he's like, trust me, they're going to take our water, even though it's illegal under existing law. So just goes to show you how many people actually fucking bother to look up anything at all. Um, this person who owns a 40 acre horse ranch, I'm sure that's not water hungry at all. Um, says that they need this kind of agriculture in La Paz County. They need these people that are using their water to ship hay overseas to feed their cows in a completely different country. We need that agriculture. Yeah, okay. Here's another farmer, right? This guy owns a company that is extremely large. And he said that growers are already, quote, conserving water because it's in our best interest. Well, hey, guess what? Even if you are, this Saudi Arabian country isn't. We know they aren't because they're allowed to pump unlimited amounts of water, and we know they aren't because Saudi Arabia has banned the growing of alfalfa because of their just like unrestricted and unmitigated just sucking of the groundwater. So basically, it's like they've already ran one area that they were farming dry here in Arizona. To the point, like it's a barren wasteland basically out there now. Um, And then further down here, of course, it talks about how large farming operations have expanded. Meanwhile, global warming continues to make growing harder because of the scarce water, right? And then satellite data since 2013, not 2013, 2003 says that the amount of groundwater depleted in the Colorado River Basin is comparable to the total capacity of Lake Mead. Okay, to put this into perspective, okay, Lake Mead um, can hold about 28.9 million acres of water when it's full. Okay, and to put that in layman's terms, that's enough water to supply tens of millions of people for years. Okay, it's like 9.5 trillion gallons. That's an enormous amount of water. Lake Mead, by volume, is the single largest reservoir of water when at full capacity. Okay, like it's just insane that the Colorado River Basin, the amount depleted is equal to that amount. It's oh my god. So there has been law that limits pumping in places like Phoenix, Tucson, and other urban areas since 1980. However, that law left about 80% of the state unregulated and allowed these farming companies and investors to pump as much water as they want. Okay, there's no restrictions. So this person up here that's like, oh, we're already doing it. No, you're not. One or two of you may, but these companies that don't fucking care about the American economy, about America, they don't care. If they're allowed to pump an unlimited amount of water, that's what they're going to fucking do. Okay. Because remember, this company is getting like 6,000 plus, 9,000 plus acres for less than 100 grand a year. Okay. And all of that money ain't going to the community, ain't going to La Paz County, okay, to the citizens of this county. It's going to where the fuck ever. So continuing further down, okay, this company has already had over 3,500 acres of state-owned farmland seized from them, or had leases for it terminated, because a investigation revealed that the state was charging a discounted below market rate for them. You don't fucking say. So now, as I said, their former hayfields sit dry. The soil is parched for water because of how much water they've sucked out of the ground. Okay. And also, they are still facing a lawsuit by the Attorney General alleging that its excessive pumping violates the law by causing a decline in groundwater, land subsidence, and worsening water quality. Okay. So right here it says that the lawsuit says the company uses about 36 wells and accounts for 80% of pumping, more than 80% of all pumping in the basin. Okay, so here we go. We got another sheet right here for us. Okay, so this is the water fact sheet for La Paz County. Okay. And we can see that supply wise, okay, reclaimed water, this is from like raining and whatnot, right? Is about 174 million gallons a day. Okay. It accounts for about 3% of the supply. Surface water is about 3,200 million gallons a day, counts for about 52%, and groundwater is about 2.8 million gallons a day, or about 45%. Okay. Now, demands agriculture, 4.7K, or 4,700 million gallons a day, which accounts for 78% of the demand. Okay. Meanwhile, the municipal, which is like, your towns and whatnot, your civilians, is only 21%, or about 1,240 million gallons a day. And then the industrial, which is your businesses, is about 74 million gallons, or about 1%. Okay. And if we look down here, right, we continue to go down, we can see that about 87% of the water comes from surface and about 13% comes from ground, okay, for the being primary sources. And then used, if we look here, right, how is water used in La Paz County? We can see 99.4% of all water is used for agriculture, and only 0.6% is used for the rest of the county. 0.6%. Now, if this is to be believed and they use over 80% of the water, that means that the majority of the water being used is being sold for less than 100 grand a year. Okay. And everything that's being produced with that water is being shipped overseas. I feel like this kind of agriculture is not needed in Arizona because it's not providing literally anything. Like, it's fucking insane. Okay. So, anyways, further down, um, you have more quotes from, this one is from Holly Irwin. Okay. She is a county supervisor who has pushed to have this problem addressed for a while now, saying you're starting to see more and more wells get depleted. If we don't try to slow this thing down, where are we going to be in 20 years? Well, I can tell you where we're going to be in 20 years if we don't do anything about this. The Renegras Basin is going to be depleted in 20 years. There's going to be nowhere for you to fucking farm. Okay. And here's the thing, okay? It's not like they're only depleting their own wells. They're also depleting the wells of the civilians, of the citizens of this place, people who actually live there. Okay. So in 2019, this person, Nancy Blevins, had their well run dry. Okay. And then had to spend months driving back and forth to a friend's house filling up plastic bottles just to have water at her home. Okay. Now she did eventually get a new pump and lower it even further to be able to actually pump water out of it. However, she shouldn't be suffering and paying for a company that is providing nothing to Arizona, nothing to her county. And obviously, she says that they need to start regulating because people's water levels are running dry. or running low, right? And sitting there saying that the water will eventually run out, and when it does, future generations are going to be in trouble. And yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. It's fucking ridiculous. A foreign company who's providing nothing to Arizona and is getting charged basically a fucking cum shot every year. Like, that shouldn't be happening, especially when they're accounting for the vast majority of all water being used in the county. It's fucking stupid.